Bank financial industry is really springing up. We have a lot of microfinance companies coming up, a lot of savings and loans companies coming up. But there's a growing concern among banks, as in the depositing of funds into these institutions are becoming rampant more than the traditional banks, and the concern is that they might collapse the traditional banks. We are here to discuss, really, do the banks have a point when they say that they are facing these challenges because interest rates charged on the deposits and those non-bank institutions are higher than theirs. I am here with Samuel Ampa, the head of research and marketing at the Gold Coast Management Fund. You're welcome to Business Live, sir.
Yes, thank you very much.
Now, this growing phenomenon, when banks say that they are facing deposit challenges because interest rates charged on, funds put in by members of the public in these non-bank financial institutions are really causing harm. Do they have a point?
I don't see the point of the commercial banks or let's say the universal banks at all because the market is open. I mean, there's so much people, there's so much unbanked in Ghana that these commercial or universal banks are only found in the city capitals. Some who are trying to go everywhere do not spread that much. So therefore, you can't find them there. And the microfinance companies are there for the people. They are serving the needs of the unbanked, the people that these commercial banks will not look at. So I do not see the argument of the commercial banks, if indeed they are claiming that these microfinance organizations are mobilizing funds which were supposed to come to them. Then I find it too strange a thought by these commercial banks. In any case, let's look at this. The microfinance organizations or institutions are doing what these commercial banks were supposed to do, by offering product and services to the unbanked. And if they are not doing it and the microfinance are doing it, why should they complain? Why should they say they are taking up the opportunities? And in banking, the profit or the markup is where you are able to mobilize cheap funds. The microfinance companies or institutions are mobilizing cheaper funds. The commercial banks are supposed to do that so that you can on-lend at a very competitive rate. And this is a very competitive, the financial institutions today are a very competitive environment. So I really see that the cost of capital, the cost of capital for the commercial banks are now high because now they are not getting these cheaper funds which the microfinance organization might mobilize and then maybe deposits in the commercial banks at a higher rate, and that is where I think they are complaining, and that is where maybe the challenge is coming from the commercial banks.
Now, their issue is that the market is just too open for these non-bank financial institutions, and they want the regulator to do something about it. Do they still have a point?
If it has to do with mobilization, then the commercial banks people are now making a strong point. Because the market is open. There's you have to get into the market and then perform. I mean, at the end of the year, you're looking at your returns or your incomes, right? So therefore, if you want to increase it, your bottom lines should go up. You should be innovative. However, if they are looking at the upspring of so many microfinance organizations which are not regulated by the central bank, then they have a case because we have had a lot of microfinance organizations springing up in the country where they pretend to provide a certain service which is not really which is not really licensed, and they tend to do things that are not within the financial obligations, So that I will support I will support commercial banks if the central bank should come in and regulate. And somehow, I think we've seen a lot of microfinance organizations popping up these days. We should have a quota. We should be able to, restrict the numbers and put a cap, on how many can register within a period. But look, my sister, the point is that there are a lot of people out there that are unbanked. Not too long ago, I heard of a story of a community that have one person with a small table taking monies and acting as a banker, as a bank to the community that do not have banking service. What that is, I mean, we are in a country where we have big banks. I mean, I do not want to mention names, but we have big banks. If such banks are there and they allow such activities to go on, they should not blame anybody.
So you think our banks are not really doing what they ought to be doing? There is so much expectations. I mean, when it comes to banking or the financial sector in this country, it is doing well. But honestly, if you go deep into the societies, the communities, the villages, you realize that banking activities had not gone there. So, in generality, you will say that commercial banks are only concentrated in towns, bigger towns, where they see profit or real growth opportunities. But they are not looking at where they will perhaps break even. So I think that is where the non-bank institutions are also taking advantage of. And the cost of the funds that are being mobilized are cheaper funds. If you look at some of the funds that are being mobilized by the non-banking or the microfinance organizations, I mean, they are paying about 3% or maybe less on savings, interest on savings, about 2 to 3%, per annum, and then on lend at about 30 to 40%. So you see, if you look at the differentiation, the margin, the difference, you see that they are making a lot of money from that. And that is where the banks, the commercial banks are also complaining, because either to that money should be coming to them, but then it is not. But the market is open. I mean, they should rather look at that as an opportunity for the commercial banks to now spring and set footprint at where they think that they have the best of product. Because the microfinance, what the product they have might not be that attractive when it comes to what the commercial banks do have. They can do a lot more. The commercial banks are licensed to do a lot more than the microfinance. So it's the commercial banks might also talk about cost in putting up operational costs. They might be talking about asset, building, and all these things coming. But then, if you look at you should do your feasibility studies and look at the profit possibilities in that area, and then you can decide. But if not, then they should just keep quiet. Yeah, talking about innovation. They have had to resort to some raffles and some promotions, all because their deposits are going down. You think it's not innovative enough?
Trust me, commercial banks do not have low deposits. It's just competition within the industry that is, crippling or fighting them. If you look at what is happening in terms of the financial results, I mean, I can talk about companies, the public ones. If you look at companies listed on the stock market, for example, they are the stocks that are driving the market currently. If you look at the financial stocks, I mean, they are doing above 70% return. And if you look at the equities, the stocks in there, you see that these are the banks that are doing very, very well. They've been able to mobilize cheaper funds. And if you look at when the Bank of Ghana also increased their minimum stated capital, a lot more of them did not collapse. A lot more were able to form mergers and were able to raise funds from the market. So it tells you that they are strong. Their bottom lines, if you look at their bottom lines, they are strong. all that they need to do basically is that to be very innovative in their product. That is where I think most commercial banks are not. They should be innovative, because if you look at, let's say, for example, the mortgage market, how many commercial banks are doing mortgaging? It's an area which is very green and has a lot of opportunities. So if mortgage products are being unleashed on the market, where a lot you see that the people looking for housing facilities are more, but they can't afford. But if the person is into some very strong working condition and have a strong salary that can support mortgage, or have a strong company that can support mortgage, the commercial bank should come in and help. That is an area that we've not taken advantage of, which need. If you look at agriculture, I mean, how many commercial banks support the agri sector in this country? Very few. So these are what the risk can be mitigated if you design your product very well to mitigate the risk. You can be at the forefront of providing what we do not have as a country. It is not easy, but if you look at the agri sector, where we've had a lot of challenges and stuff of growth in the agri sector, all that the agri sector needs is financial injection. Okay, but these banks are there. Interestingly, one will also argue that banks do not have the financial muscle, sometimes to do some of these things, because some of them are always looking for profits, making ventures to enter and make quick returns and not go into much more productive production and all that areas. But you see, our economy, we're looking forward to grow our economy very well, and therefore the financial sector should be able to be the real backbone of growth for this economy. Otherwise, certain sectors that need their support, like the agri sector, even the oil sector, we can't really participate in it.
A lot of sectors. Finally, I would want to know, with the central bank coming in to help in this particular challenge of the banks, can the central bank restrict the interest rates being charged by these non-bank institutions? They are calling for that.
Well, not too long ago, the Bank of Ghana issued a directive asking a modus operandi on how they are going to see to the regulations and see on how interest rates can be regulated. It is an issue, because if you talk about the pricing of borrowing, you could see that it differs from every bank. In Ghana, we've not done so many things that could make lending or borrowing easy, credit facilities easy. We talked about a credit reference bureau. Some came in. We have very poor numbering. I mean, it's not easy. Our national identification system is certainly not right. So somebody can borrow and run away with that money that easily. These are some of the things that are risk factors. I mean, they put a lot of risk, on the doorsteps of these commercial banks. Therefore, it somehow stifles them to be able to give out credit. So I believe that the central bank knows these challenges and therefore cannot stringently come in to control it. However, I believe I heard that they are going to find a way, and they have indeed found a way to control the high rates of interest on loans to especially to the private sector and to the SMEs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ampa. So I have been speaking to Mr. Samuel Ampa of the Gold Coast Management Fund, and he's been saying that, well, the banks should be more innovative. There are lots of opportunities out there that they can tap into and not fear too much competition, because the world is moving to a different level, and if you're not innovative enough, you just might be out of business.